Every year, over 300 British holidaymakers reluctantly spend their summer break in Mallorca's Son de Rita. We're back at the Holiday Hospital tomorrow at 8 o'clock.
Tonight, the Costa killer unmasked.
He jumped on my back, threw me to the floor and pinned me down and just started putting a rope around my neck.
Married to a murderer.
It was like an awakening. You've slept with this man, you were married to this man, and that's what he is. He's this monster that has done that, and he did it for no reason at all.
Freed to attack again and again and again.
A shiver runs down you to say, well, you know, we've got this guy, he's going to get sentenced, but he's going to come out and he's going to do it again. And it's a terrifying thought.
Good evening. Have you ever wondered what it's like to be married to a man who is a murderer? Tonight we're going to meet Celia Winfield, who was married to Tony King, the man who is now being described as the Costa killer. Celia Winfield faced the ultimate dilemma when she became suspicious that her husband might be the killer of 2 young women. Now he's facing trial, but disturbing evidence is coming to light about his links to a string of murders across Britain. Among the many questions being asked about all this, one stands out. Why was Tony King freed not once, but twice, to continue his reign of terror? Here's Fiona Foster.
This is the story of a man who couldn't live without terrorizing women. He attacked again and again until he was caught. Then he was released twice, and the madness started again. Now police are trying to work out just how many attacks Tony Bromwich carried out, and how many murders he may have committed. April 1985, and Tony Bromwich has already viciously attacked 3 women in less than a month. Christine Bluer is on her way home.
It was around sort of 4:15 in the afternoon as I was walking up towards my flat. I noticed someone following me or behind me. And then I walked into the lobby where the lifts were, and the door slammed after I entered, and he followed, and it slammed again, and of course I was a bit startled.
Did you turn around and look at him at this
I did glance, yes.
And what impression did he make on you?
That he was a young boy, you know, sort of spotty, bit downy hair, you know, sort of not a man's stubbly face, or, you know, and he wasn't that much taller than me, really. And anyway, I pressed to call the lift, and as the lift door opened, I went to step inside, and as I did so, I felt this sort of smash that actually felt like an electric shock. I was lying on the floor in the lift, and I thought for a moment this person was actually trying to help me by loosening my clothes, and he actually had tightened my scarf, but I was obviously a bit dazed, and it wasn't until he was up trying to undo my trousers and was sexually assaulting me that I suddenly realised, oh my God, what is going on? And I kind of went ballistic, really, and was sort of on the floor of the lift, sort of kicking at his legs and just going ballistic, going berserk. And I kind of managed to get up, and then he smashed me again, and smashed me again. I was holding my head, and he smashed me again and chopped the end of my finger off. And then I was sort of telling him, oh God, you've chopped my finger off, you've chopped my finger off. and I didn't know what to hold then, whether to stand up or hold my head, hold my finger, and I kind of got to my feet and he had me round the neck from behind in a stranglehold and kind of, I'm shaking, it sort of calmed a little bit, and I then crouched down in the corner of the lift, sort of holding my bloody hair, and my hair was all over my face, and it was quite long at the time.
Christine, a 25-year-old dancer and choreographer, had just returned from a sailing holiday after happily discovering she was 3 months pregnant.
I was crying, please don't kill my baby, please don't kill my baby. And then he sort of backed up and stood in the corner guarding the buttons, and I think I kind of caught him aback really, and I then thought, well, this is my chance, this is my only chance. And I started to tell him to run away, and I wouldn't tell anyone, just run away, I won't tell. Go on, run away, run away.
He left Christine dazed and bleeding in the lift. But his violent spree didn't stop there. Just 30 minutes later, the printing apprentice attacked a 19-year-old civil servant.
Did you know what he was hitting you with? Were you aware of what the weapon was?
Felt like a hammer, but it turned out to be a grinding tool that he'd picked up from a machine shop next door to where he worked. It was all put in a carrier bag. There was a strip of an iron bar, so there was 2 weapons. There was the iron bar, so I've got sort of different shapes on my head, really. And subsequently, after attacking me, the ambulance came, and quite shortly after being admitted to accident and emergency, there was more commotion, and another girl had been attacked with the same weapon, and the weapon was, he'd just dumped it, he'd left it there, he'd just dumped the weapon, and I don't think he sexually assaulted her. He was just so furious, I think, that he hadn't killed me, and that he just hadn't done it properly. Because I think if I hadn't have been pregnant, if I hadn't have been able to cry for my unborn child, then he would have killed me. So there we were, both these poor women in the same accident and emergency, and 2 lots of parents kind of absolutely distraught.
A month later, Christine lost her baby. She has never had any children. Tony Bromwich was now labelled the Holloway Strangler, and the police were desperate to stop him. 2 weeks after the attack on Christine and the civil servant, he spotted Margaret Cheek, a bubbly 15-year-old teenager. She was assaulted as she left home to walk to her friend's house.
As I approached down the slope of the subway, I felt someone behind me. I knew there was someone behind me, and as I turned into the subway, started walking through the subway, he jumped on me back, spun me around, threw me to the floor, and pinned me down with his knees on my shoulders, and just started putting a rope around my neck and strangling me. I couldn't breathe. My eyes felt bulging. All I could see was his face on my face, and he was just staring into my eyes. Didn't say a word, just staring into my eyes.
And what was going through your mind?
I thought he's going to kill me. I'm going to die.
Nearly 20 years later, Margaret still suffers. She sees Tony Bromwich in her nightmares.
But it was afternoon, so you wouldn't feel threatened. It was sunny, it was light, it was warm. And I was walking through here, I felt happy, going to my friend's house, we had a good time around my friend's house. As I got here, it's around here, this is where it happened. He put a rope around my neck, and that was going on for about 2 to 3 minutes. and a man approached. He must have worked, because there's a bus garage through here, and he seen him, and he looked, took the road and ran, and the man helped me out and said, "You're alright, you've knocked the loo." But I was so distraught, I ran to my friend's house.
And being back here, does it feel very uncomfortable?
I feel very shaky, I feel a bit sick. Yes. It's not nice at all. It's just going on for a life again now.
Margaret was to be his last victim for the time being. Bromwich was caught when 2 policewomen acted as decoys. He had brutalised a total of 7 women in a 5-week reign of terror. Christine was determined to help police identify her attacker.
We had to go into what I would call a holding cell, a prison cell. And as I turned around, there was 4 or 5 men sitting, and as I turned around, there was Tony Bromwich, and my whole body responds sometimes to stress, and just seeing him again, my whole body knew. And I had really prayed that if he was there, I would know with my whole life that he was the person that did this to me. And then I was just pointing, and he requested me to say, if this is the man that attacked you, then please just say exactly that. So I was then forced to say to Tony Bromwich, yes, this is the man that attacked me.
Bromwich chillingly told detectives, "I knew I shouldn't be doing it, but I can't help myself."
As an investigator, when you sit down and across the table, somebody who is charged or faces really serious offences says, "Look, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but I can't help myself," I think a shiver runs down you to say, well, we've got this guy, we're going to feed him into the court, he's going to get sentenced, but he's going to come out and he's going to do it again. And it's a terrifying thought.
At the Old Bailey trial, the judge labelled Tony Bromwich a Jekyll and Hyde character. He had family, friends, a fiancée, and was described as a model apprentice. And yet he got his thrills from battering and strangling women. He was sentenced to just 10 years in jail for this series of vicious attacks.
This isn't some guy flashing in the park, some sad guy. This is someone who has gone to extreme acts of sex and violence against defenseless women, and on a serial basis. And my reaction is like most people's, that to let him out without very, very clear evidence of rehabilitation and is got to be wrong.
But Bromwich was a model prisoner and was released after just 5 years.
I think one has to be, when you've had such horrendous crimes as that, when you get a 10-year stretch, it should mean 10 years, because that facade's going to be rather more difficult to keep up for 10 years than it would with 5. And at least there would have been a further 5 years, whereby if it had stuck to the judge's original terms of reference, which I believe were 10 years, then there would have been 5 years of relative safety for women.
He should never have been let out. Why didn't they realise that this man was a psychopath, that he was ill?
In 1991, only weeks after leaving jail, he attacked another woman at knife point and was sent back to prison for just 3 years.
I think when you're talking about sentencing for sex offences, the whole thing's completely out of kilter. I think that what you need in terms of serious sex offences is a minimum sentence established, during which time treatment can be given, and the sentence should actually be open-ended until professionals are satisfied that this person doesn't present a danger to the public. And I think there are cases when somebody is always going to present a danger to the public, and those people need to be kept away forever.
But he wasn't. In 1995, he was let out yet again. He quickly changed his name to Tony King and got a job in a gym. He kept his terrible past a secret when he met Celia Winfield and got chatting in a nightclub. On the surface, he was good-looking and totally unremarkable.
A bit quiet, and just told me about his family, you know, that he'd not had a happy childhood, that they were, you know, there was lots of things wrong in the family, and he hadn't had a very good upbringing. But that was about it. And I sympathised with him.
So how did the relationship develop from there then?
We just made arrangements to meet again, and it just happened very fast. And by the 3 months mark, I was already pregnant and moved in with him. So it was one of those relationships.
But behind the happy family image, Bromwich, or King as he was now known, still had uncontrollable urges. It's unknown how many women he terrorised during this period. But just 2 years after leaving prison for the second time, an au pair was indecently assaulted at a Surrey railway station. Bromwich's face was captured on CCTV footage, and the pictures broadcast on Crime Watch. It was 11 years since Christine had seen him, but she recognised him immediately.
It was Tony Bromwich. Therefore, I phoned the Crime Watch programme and was later contacted by a police officer who I gave my details and explained how I'd been connected to his previous crimes.
British police tracked Tony King to the home he shared with Celia and their baby daughter, but he'd vanished. The Holloway Strangler was on the loose again.
In my dream, I'm in a museum.
Executivus obsoletus.
Executivus obsoletus.
He's extinct.
I'm extinct.
His inability to adapt to the rapidly changing business climate proved his downfall.
What does it mean?
You need to adapt fast or perish.
Perish?
Or be acquired.
I'd rather perish.
Let's go see the woolly mammoth.
If you go on holiday to get plastered, this is probably not what you had in mind.
I'll make my holiday pretty dull, won't it?
It's the last place you ever want to visit.
Just one of the wall.
Cold drink for the rest of my holidays.
No one told me I'd got a fractured cheekbone.
Holiday Hospital, Tuesday at 8, ITV1.
Tony Bromwich had hurriedly packed up his family and moved to the Costa del Sol in southern Spain. His wife Celia spoke fluent Spanish and had been keen to move abroad, but her husband had always been reluctant until he thought the police were on his tail.
Come home one day, sat down, he said, I really want to go now. And we just started selling up car boots and, you know, really quickly, 2 weeks we had, that's all. Before that, he didn't really want to, and he didn't want to help me or anything. So then the car boot started and packing, and we basically come with £1,000. That's all we came with, £1,000 to start our new lives with.
Surrey police wanted to extradite Bromwich for the attack at the railway station, but the Crown Prosecution Service said they didn't have enough evidence.
By 1998, British police were so concerned about Bromwich, now King, that they contacted Interpol and warned them that he was a threat to women. They even supplied a set of fingerprints and details of his penchant for strangulation. That information was then passed on to the Spanish authorities. The following year, 19-year-old Rocío Woninkoff was murdered.
In Spain, Celia's relationship with her husband deteriorated as she discovered he was not all he seemed.
I'd wake up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning and he'd be gone. And you'd say, where's he gone? Look around you, look in every room. And then all of a sudden, you know, like he wasn't there. So then you'd ask him why, and he'd say, oh, I couldn't sleep, I went for a walk. And it just sounded reasonable that you'd do that.
In 1999, when Rocío Woninkoff was murdered, was there anything at the time that made you think that perhaps Tony had something to do with it?
At the time, it was like a suspicion, not a factual there it is, it's him or anything. It was just suspicious feelings in my gut feeling that there was something there. There's got to be something, but I didn't know what it was.
Life carried on, and he was popular around the town. He was even hunk of the week in a local newspaper. But there was to be another killing.
In August this year, another Spanish teenager was murdered. 17-year-old Sonia Carabantes disappeared on her way home from a local fiesta. 5,000 people turned out to look for her. 5 days after she vanished, her bruised, battered and partially naked body was found buried in a dried-up riverbed. Like Rothia Woninkoff, Sonia had been strangled.
After Sonia's death, Celia couldn't live with her fears any longer. She called the police. Her husband, the father of her child, was arrested on suspicion of 2 murders. He quickly confessed, and the horror of his previous crimes was revealed.
All of a sudden I realised that he'd done all those things, and I really felt sick, and I didn't eat for a few days and washing myself all the time, and it was just like an awakening. My God, you've slept with this man, you were married to this man, and that's what he is. He's this monster that has done that, and he did it for no reason at all.
When he was arrested, he allegedly admitted a further 3 rapes and wrote letters of remorse to the murdered girls' families.
I also have a daughter that I love very much, and I am sick to my soul for the damage and pain I have caused.
But in a new twist, last week he changed his story. Now he claims his friend, Robert Graham, a timeshare salesman from Salford, murdered Rothio Woninkoff, the first Spanish victim. Graham had already been questioned by police but released. He's now fled the Costa del Sol and is believed to be in Egypt, where there's no extradition agreement with the UK or Spain. Meanwhile, the agony goes on.
Something has gone very wrong. All the way along the line over the last 18 years. It seems like there's not a great regard for women sometimes in the justice system.
As we wait for the trial in Spain to reveal the facts about the Costa del Sol murders, back here in the UK, police are still trying to piece together his terrible past. Operation Washfield was set up by the Met to examine possible attacks by Bromwich. So far, they're investigating 7 murders, 3 rapes and an assault.
I think it's astonishing that Home Secretaries can sit comfortably knowing that people who are a real danger to women are being released into the community. Something has to be done. Some way has to be found for these people to be detained, if necessary, forever.
Fiona Foster reporting. And 7 different police forces in the UK are now investigating unsolved crimes connected with Tony King. Meanwhile, an international manhunt to track down King's fellow suspect, Robbie Graham, has been launched by Spanish police. They're said to be working around the clock to find him. And that's all we have time for this evening. We're back at the same time, 8 o'clock next Monday evening. Until then, from all of us here, goodbye and thank you for joining us.
So, what has become of Bethany? We return to Coronation Street next. Then they're all at it, between the sheets at 9 o'clock, and later at 10:30 Frank Skinner celebrates England's victory in the Rugby World Cup with captain Martin Johnson and Will Greenwood.